Perhaps no aspect of child development is as miraculous as the development of a child's brain in the first few years of life. So how does this miracle occur? A number of factors influence early brain development, including our genes, food and nutrition, physical activity, daily experiences, responsiveness of caregivers, and love. In the past, some scientists thought that brain development was determined by one's genes and that brain growth followed a biologically predetermined path. Now we know that early experiences impact the development of the brain and influence the specific way in which the circuits or pathways of the brain become wired. We are born with more than 100 billion brain cells, or neurons, more than we will ever need. For the most part, neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons, only occurs during prenatal development. The exception is in the hippocampus, the part of the brain involved in learning and memory. Neurons are the specialized cells of the nervous system that are capable of communication. A neuron has 4 basic parts: dendrites that receive information in the form of a chemical messenger or neurotransmitter from other neurons, the cell body, which is the life support for the cell, the axon, which carries the neuron's message in the form of an electrical impulse or action potential to the axon terminal, the branches at the end of the axon that make connections by developing a synapse or space with the dendrites of other neurons. A single neuron can connect with as many as 15,000 other neurons. This incredibly complex network of connections that results often is referred to as the brain's circuitry or wiring. Experience shapes the way circuits are made in the brain. A remarkable increase in the growth of dendrites, axons, and synapses occurs during the first few years of life. The brain develops a functional architecture through the development of these connections. As the synapses in a child's brain are strengthened through repeated experience, connections and pathways are formed that structure the way a child learns. If a pathway is not used, it is eliminated based on the use it or lose it principle. Things you do a single time, either good or bad, are somewhat less likely to have an effect on brain development. When a connection is used repeatedly in the early years, it becomes permanent. For example, if a parent repeatedly calls a child a certain name, then connections will form that allow the child to recognize that name over time as referring to him, and he will in turn learn to respond to that name. From birth, the brain is rapidly creating these connections that form our habits, our thoughts, our consciousness, our memories, and our mind. The interactions that parents assist with in a child's environment are what spur the growth and pattern of these connections in the brain. So, help a child's brain develop and nourish that child's potential for a lifetime.